Because changing our lives and making a difference in our life and rebuilding our lives is no joke. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But you have to want it enough. I was thinking about this today because I'll be doing a lot of addiction presentations for the community because we want to promote more of what we're doing here in the community, here in Choose the Change. I want more people to know so they can support us as we work towards building a home and gaining more supporters. But there's people out there, guys, that believe in us, right? There's people out there believe in us. And my goal is to find those people so they can help us. But before I go on, we just had a meeting with our board. Many of you don't know all that, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of work going on just to host this, to make things happen, to plan for the future. And we're considering moving our event. Who knows when we're having our event? Ándale, you remember it. Well, we're considering moving it. So next week we'll find out for sure if we're going to move it. But it'll be moved to October 22nd if we move it. October 22nd. And there's a reason for that. But I'll keep you up to date on all that. Today I want to talk about mindset. We don't have much time. We only have very little time. So I just want to share a few things with you. I really want to preach. I'm a preacher. I don't usually preach in here, but I want to preach tonight. I want to talk about how important the mind is because that's where the battle is, right? That's where the battle is. I was talking to a man today that's working with a guy that's going to get out of prison, and the guy that's going to get out of prison is struggling. He doesn't know. He's about 30 in his 30s. He doesn't know if he's going to make it. His wife is in church. She's doing great, but he's never had a job. And I can see it in his text. He knows it's going to be a struggle. And it's a struggle now that you're here. But I want to talk about choosing, which is why the name of my of this class is Choose to Change. The organization is Choose to Change. Where did I get that name, Choose to Change? Because I came to the realization that changing our lives, Abraham, changing our lives, having some kind of success in our life, moving forward, rebuilding our life is a choice. And I want to talk about choose today and what kind of mindset you have to have in order to choose every day, because you have to wake up every morning and choose to be different, choose to stay sober, choose to be a new man, choose to do the right thing. Every morning we have to do that. Did you know that? Not only when you feel good, not only when you feel like it, but when you don't feel like it is when it gets harder. But I'm going to read a scripture out of Joshua 24:15. And I'm going to start right here. Joshua 24:15. This is Joshua with the right hand of Moses, by the way, in the Bible. And when Moses died, Joshua took over. And we're going to read what he's saying to the children of Israel at the end of his life. And here's what he said. Joshua 24:15, he says, "But if you refuse to serve the Lord," basically what he's saying is, if you refuse to do what's right, then choose. Choose today whom you're going to serve. Would you prefer the gods of your fathers? Or will it be the gods of the Amorites, whose land you are living in now? He says, "But as for me and my house, as for me and my families, we will serve the Lord." And that's the kind of attitude, that's the kind of mindset that you have to have every morning. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. We're going to serve God. We're going to do what's right. So let's look first at the compound effect. I just gave Mr. Ramos a book called The Compound Effect. Who knows what compound interest? And stay with me here. I'm going to get somewhere. Who knows what compound interest is? You probably know what compound interest is. You know what compound interest is, brother? Carlos? You know what compound interest? Do you know what compound interest? Let me just give an example. It's hard to explain, but let me just give an example. Did you know that when you borrow money, you pay interest? Did you know that? Okay, that interest compounds, and it compounds in different ways. Every month, they're charging you interest. You might borrow 1,000, you might wind up paying 1,300. But compound interest has been said that it's the eighth wonder of the world. I forgot who said that, but somebody said that. But let me give you an example of what compound interest is. And stay with me. Stay with me here. You're going to learn that in that book, by the way. Let's say you invested $350 for 10 years at 10% interest. In other words, they're going to give you 10% for investing $350, and you were investing $350 a month. After 10 years, you would have put in $42,000. Okay? $350 a month. I'm telling you, that's what you would have put in 10 years. $42,000. Your interest, but with interest, it would have grown to $71,000. That is with compound interest. That's how compound interest works. And I'm not going to explain how it works because it's kind of complicated, because I don't even understand how it works. But my point is, that's what compound interest is. It compounds like this. It just gets over more and more, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the way, that's how rich people stay rich, because they understand the power of compound interest. And this is what happens. In other words, investing $350 a month for 10 years, you would have earned almost $30,000 just in interest. Just keep that in mind, that compound interest is powerful if you can save the money, right? So stay with me here. Imagine this. Every good decision you make was worth $350. Telling you, this is how you change your life. You've been doing this for a year, brother, right? About a year. Has it gotten better or worse? Well, it's got better. You know why? Because you're compounding the interest of good behavior, the interest of good choices, the interest. You see how that works? That's how it works. I didn't just wind up here. I started in a prison cell. And I started learning that good choices bring good results. It's just that simple. It's not rocket science. It's not that. Every day you stay sober, boom, you're compounding something. Every time you stay employed, every phone call you make, every bill you pay, every time you attend church, you're making these choices, and they're compounding, guys. This is how it works. Every month you serve, you save a little bit of money. You did your driver's test. You did this. You did that. You got your first job. You came to choose a change for the first time. You started the process. This is the power of the compound effect. Your future isn't changed by one big decision. It is changed by hundreds of small ones. Faithful decisions on a daily basis that compound over time. That's how it works. That's just how it works. In his book, Darren Hardy explains how success in life, let me show you this book. He says, the compound effect. Jumpstart your income, your life, and your success. And when I would read titles like that, that would catch my attention. I want to jumpstart. So this is what I'm trying to help people do here in this room. Jumpstart your success. Because there's a lot of work you need to do. But you need to keep the right mindset. It's a choice every day. In his book, he explains that success doesn't come with one big moment or one huge decision. Instead, it comes from small, consistent choices made every what? Day. He gives the example that if you eat a cheeseburger and fries every day, and I did today, but if you eat it every day, today, I mean, it's not going to kill you. It's not. I eat it today. It's not going to kill me. But if I keep that choice every single day for years, it's going to show up on your health really quick. On the other hand, if you choose to walk 20 minutes a day, right? I go walk once a week for 2 hours. That compounds. Okay, 30 minutes. I haven't walked. It may not seem like much, walking 20 minutes, doing a few push-ups, but over time, right? Are you all getting this? That's the power of the compound effect. It's the things we do daily, almost without thinking, that shape our future. Every one of us, you know, as you started your own job, as you started your own job, you just have to start and then just keep going. Good habits are compound interest of a transformed life. Good habits are the compound interest of a transformed life. Bad habits are the compound interest of a life of self-destruction. It's very simple. He emphasizes that we are always in control, that no one else makes our daily decisions except you. Our success or failure is in sobriety or in recovery or in changing our lives is not accidental. It's just not. It's earned through our day-to-day, hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute choices. Period. So you have to understand that. So that's why I'm asking you to choose. You need to choose today what you're going to do. So again, in the end, it's not that big one dramatic choice that defines it all, right? It's that little ones we make on a day-to-day basis that leads us either closer to God, closer to our goals, closer to our family finally trusting us again, closer to, y'all get it? But you have to make those daily choices daily. So I want to continue this message I call Choose Today. So let's consider, how do you make choices? You ever thought about that? How do you make choices? For many of us, if you lived like we used to live, drug addicted or in prison or just living our own selfish life, we just got up and did whatever we wanted, right? So how was those choices being made? Have you ever thought about that? What drives your choices? What really goes on in the mind? Remember, I'm talking about mindset. When you're faced with a choice or a decision. Well, let me tell you exactly what goes on in your mind. This is how you make choices. You all ready for this one? Real simple. We make choices based on belief. See if I spell that right. Values. And these are the things that I want to talk about today. And standards. This is what this meeting is going to be about, those three things. Because this is how you make choices. And either your beliefs, values, or standards are good, or they're not. So let's look over these one by one. Your beliefs. What do you believe? What is a belief? What do you believe? It's what you accept or believe to be true about yourself, about others, and about God. Belief influences your thinking, your decisions, and your direction. So when you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, depending on what you see about yourself, you're going to feel a certain way. That's going to drive your... If you look in the mirror in the morning, brother, and you say, no, man, I'm never going to make it. It's just too hard. Remember, I'm talking about mindset and choices. If you have that kind of mindset, what kind of choice are you going to make? You see what I'm saying? I'm telling you, people make... I see this all the time. Because you're not feeling it, because it didn't work out, because you didn't get the job, because you know your girlfriend didn't, you lost your girlfriend, and it goes on and on. Yes, sir.
The words that we speak, negative or positive, they have power.
No, and they have power, and that's not only the ones you say. It's the ones you think. If you think about God, your belief about God, if you say, man, God doesn't hear me, he's not moving for me. If you believe that, then nothing's going to happen. See, remember, we walk by faith. You need faith. You can't do it without faith. Belief influences how you think and the decisions you made. Your life will always move in the direction of your strongest belief. I'm driven to do this, to come to this pulpit every Thursday. I'm driven because I really believe that I have something to share with you that can help you. I really believe that. Not because I'm the smartest or the greatest, but because I've learned some things. God has shown me some things. In the story of Lazarus, when Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, who remembers that story? In the Bible, Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. Jesus finally shows up, but Martha and Mary, the sisters, they were like, they doubted. They said, nah, there's nothing we can do now. And listen to what Jesus said. Listen to the story. He says, Jesus told Mary, in the story, Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. Jesus told Martha that Lazarus would rise again. He said, Martha, come down. It's going to be okay. Your brother, he's going to rise again. And he asked her, do you believe this? He asked her. You ought to read it. It's pretty powerful. He says, do you believe this? I often wonder, why did he ask that? And Martha said, yeah, I know. But she thought he was speaking of one day in the resurrection. Jesus turned around and said in John 11:25, I am the resurrection. He who believes in me, though he may die, he shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. And he asked her, do you believe this? See, what you believe is huge. Because that's what's going to move the mountain. That's what's going to move the needle. Trust me, I don't feel good every day. I don't feel excited every day. I don't. I feel excited when I get in front of the pulpit. But you have to believe. So the idea here is it's going to take faith. Believing for a better future is the key. You must keep believing that your life can get better. Your marriage can get better. That you can get better. Your belief. Remember, belief. That's what we're talking about. What you believe. The second, this is how you make choices. That's what I'm talking about. What you believe. Second thing, the second way you make choices is values. We make choices based on our values. And what is that? These are the things that matter the most. And I understand this. For people in recovery, for people that have been drug addicts, what woke you up in the morning? What really mattered? And what really mattered? Getting high. That was our value. Selling drugs. Making money. What got you up in the morning? Money. Why? Because that's what you value the most. It's very simple. Can you see that? And then what has to happen is you have to change those values. In other words, what you value is sobriety, staying sober. If you don't value it, then you're going to think it's nothing. Maybe a beer, maybe a pasecito. No, you have to value what God has done for you. You have to value your life. You have to what do you value? Again, if you look in the mirror and you say, yo no sirvo para nada. You have to value yourself. Value your family. Value. Care. For example, maybe you value being honest, integrity, love, respect, responsibility. You don't have a remodeling business. I didn't even have time to change today. This is my business. I don't know how many of you know, but I have my own business. I've supported Choose to Change all these years through my business. And one of the things that I teach, that I've started my business with, is people you can trust. And I tell my customers, I tell them, because now I tell them with a lot of pride. And what I mean by that is I'm passionate and proud of what I have. That I know I'm going to treat them right. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to rob them. I'm not going to cheat them. I'm going to do a right job. And even if I lose money, I'm going to do it right. I value that. I value integrity. And that helps me make decisions. You have to value something. Then you will make choices based on your values. Our values shape what you prioritize and what you pursue and what you protect in your life. What you value. Your family. You value your family. If you value your faith, meaning your relationship with God in Christ, you will come to church. Read your Bible. Pray. I value that. Does that mean you're going to be perfect and everything? No, but you're going to come to church. Your life is directed towards a better life. Towards. This is what Matthew 9:29 says. He says, "According to your faith, be it unto you." What do you value? Okay, the third way you make choices. The third way you make choices is your standards. And here's something that you have to, again, I know this is a lot of information, but this is what goes through your mind. And hopefully this will help some of you. Standards are boundaries or levels of behavior that we are willing to accept or you will choose to live by. Standards determine what you will accept or reject in your life. They are based on your belief and your values. They're based on your beliefs and your values. Standards are like this. Say your friends, homeboys comes from the past. He just shows up. Wants to come in here and smoke a joint with you and drink some beer. Are you going to do that? That's something you have to consider. Especially many of people that just get out of prison. See, this is where you see how we make choices? If you don't have a strong enough standard and value and belief, you're going to say, oh, pásale un boy, pásale. You're going to have to be able to say no. Listen to these examples. I will not use drugs or alcohol. That's a value. That's a standard. I'm just not going to do it. It's not what I do. It goes against my values. It goes against my belief. So that sets the standard. I will be honest, even when it's difficult. The standard. Because you believe that, you stand for it. I will treat others with respect. That's a standard. You believe people deserve respect, to be treated well. Here's another standard. I will be faithful to my commitments. It's a standard. I got to come to church. Do you believe in being faithful and valuing being committed? So simple teaching. Here you go. Let me put them all together for you. This is pretty cool. Your beliefs shape your values. Your values establish your standards. And listen to this one. And your standards influence your choices. The choices you make every day are a reflection of what you truly believe, what you value, and what you're willing to stand for. Remember, we're trying to change our lives. And many of it, you guys are doing a great job. So why do so many people make bad decisions? Even as Christians. Why? Why do we do that? Because next week I'm going to do a part 2 on mindset. I'm going to explain what happens in the mind. We're going 100 miles an hour. We're making good decisions. We're reading our Bible. We're coming to church. We're doing this. We're doing this. And then you get through this fog one day, and you just throw it all away. Just for one more beer, or one hit, or one beer, or one. Why do we do that? I can tell you why. Because your mind is a little twisted. We're trying to untwist it, and that takes time. So does anybody have anything here they want to say? Want to share based on what I just shared? Choices, choosing every day.
A lot of Christians make wrong decisions and bad choices. One of the main reasons is because we war against the flesh and the spirit, constantly in battle. So when if my way of thinking in the past, Orlando, was I believed that I could use and function. I can be on both sides of the fence. I did it when I was young, but
Who used to believe that? Let me raise my hand.
I strongly believe I thought I was slick. My best thinking
Oh, yeah.
and my best slickness got me in a jam, okay? But going back to that, I want to go back to what you stated where in the book of Joshua, as for me and my family, we're to serve the Lord.
Right.
Okay, and the compound effect, this past year, it's been almost a year and a half since I've been out, and I've experienced a lot of personal growth. And on this compound effect is, it's like I'm building a solid foundation, a good foundation on the compound effect. Whereas before, my foundation was laid on what? It wasn't even solid. It wasn't even a rock. It was made out of the Bible calls it sand.
It was selfishness.
Selfishness, but
It
that
was
foundation,
comfort.
the storms of life or the temptation would come, a humble would come or whatever, and it'd be all blown away.
Hey, swept away.
So it was like that, up and downhill battle throughout my life. But yeah, so that was what I wanted to say, the company faith. You just keep building on that foundation, which is the cornerstone, Jesus Christ, amen. But also want to say real quick concerning what was I lost my thought. Covered so
Okay.
many topics here real quick, but concerning what you mentioned about the belief system, Orlando.
belief system.
Yeah, the belief system, what you value, So yeah, you made a real good point, Orlando. That I believe that I could come up ahead, I could do this and I could do that, and no. My values and my standards. I mean, for me to get up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to go do my thing in the street or be in the game and neglect the family, something wrong with that.
Something's wrong with that value and
Something's
that
wrong.
belief.
And
Yeah.
keep going to prison, on and all the time. There's something wrong with that.
Well, that's another reason I tell people we're twisted individuals, man. And I'm talking about sober. We need God to help us. We need God to help us. There's so much to learn about the choices we make and why we make them. But the bottom line is we need God. Many people make bad decisions because they give into fear instead of godly belief. They give into comfort instead of godly values. They give into selfish desires instead of godly standards. The mind has to change, because you're right. That's where the war is. And I'm going to talk a lot about the mind in the next few weeks. Every choice we make carries weight. It carries weight. You may not see it, but it carries weight. One bad choice can take you to prison for 25 years. Yes or no? One bad choice. But one bad choice because you had been making a lot of little ones. And then all of a sudden one choice, and boom, it's kind of like the dominoes, right? Or what is that game, Ninja or Jinja, or where you pull out the sticks, or the little Jenga? You ever seen that game, guys? It's a bunch of blocks, and you pick out the blocks, and you take out the blocks, and one by one you're taking them out, and the object to the game is that you take it out until it falls. And it's not to that last one. It almost looks like it's going to fall. But you take that last one out, that last one bad choice, and it all comes crumbling down on you. And that's how we wound up in prison. That's how we wound up with an overdose. That's how we wound up with no family. That's how we want. Y'all with me? One bad choice. Joshua, in our text, he stood before the people of Israel and put it very plainly. Listen, choose you today who you're going to serve. What he's saying is that you need to choose what you're going to do, what kind of values you're going to stand on, what kind of standards you're going to put in your life, what kind of beliefs you're going to have. That's what he's saying. Because what happened in the children of Israel, what's happening here in the Bible, guys, is that Moses and Joshua, he had been teaching the children of Israel for years what to do. What would they do? They'd always go back to doing what they wanted to do. And he kept on, no, you got to do what God says. You got to do it this way. You got to do it like this. You got to do it like this. And this is what happens to us when we come to choose a change, or we come to church. We hear the answers. We hear the standards. We hear the values we should start embracing. We hear what we should do. But according to the Bible, because of our hard heart and our unbelief, we always might make those bad choices. And this is what was happening back then. They had been doing this over and over and over and over, making bad choices, until finally he said, listen, you're going to have to choose. It's kind of like the last block that they're going to have to take out. And if they take it out, it's going to all fall on them. And that's what he was saying. You need to choose today what you're going to stand on, what you're going to believe. In other words, you can't sit on the fence forever. You cannot do it, because you're going to fall one way or the other. Life will bring you to a point where you must choose. Not choosing is a choice. Serving God has always been a choice. From the beginning of time, from the Garden of Eden, it's a choice. We're just created that way. You choose to disobey God, or you choose to obey. Choosing to disobey God always brings slavery. Choosing to drink again can enslave you and turn you into an alcoholic. Choosing to use drugs again will turn you back into an addict. Choosing pornography will enslave your mind. Turns us into weak men. So when you turn to God, He gives us life. He sets us free. In other words, He forgives us. Forgiveness is being set free. That you know that? Then we can start drawing closer to God. That's why we're able to do what we're doing, because we're forgiven. And if you don't remember that, if you don't believe that, then you're going to start going back. But if you believe that God has forgiven you, He wants to forgive you, you keep pressing forward. Como ese little train, I know I can, I know I can, I know I can, I know I can. It's a choice. You know, there was anybody have anything here? Where? Oh yeah, there you go. Successful living doesn't happen by chance. It only happens by choice. So I've been teaching this for years. I put that when we started this class, because I know this for a fact. And the reason I know it and I'm so passionate about it, again, and I'll repeat it all the time here, because I started in the prison cell 28 years ago, 30 years ago. That's where it started. And I just kept making the right decision over and over, even when nobody else believes, even when nobody's seen. It doesn't matter. It's math. The choices you make when people are not watching you are the important ones. Those are the most important ones. Yes, sir.
Yes, Orlando, I wanted to go back a little bit because I forgot my train of thought. Everybody here has heard about CPR. So whenever I make the choice, or in the past to make a bad choice, okay, so I gave CPR to this old man, that other person, the one that I saw, one of my mugshots from the county jail. Mm-hmm. That looked very disgusting, okay? That was the man, the old man, that I gave CPR to many times. So I brought him back to life, Orlando, by doing CPR on that old man. So when I would make the decision to go ahead and listen to him and do this and do that, you know, and he would rise up all the time. That old man, that person that I saw, that mugshot, that was a disgusting person that I saw.
Oh, you always try to help them, resurrect them. Oh, is that what you're saying or no?
Yes, yes. So if I make a wrong choice, I'm actually doing CPR to this old man. When you think about it, I'm giving life to that man. Go ahead and rise up, bro. Let's go. And before you know it, if you don't have a good, if you believe, like my way of thinking was, I believe that I could go ahead and feed the old man and do the right thing.
And suffer no consequences. Yeah. I never thought about it that way. Resurrecting the old man. You're right. Because the idea is we need to kill that old man. Right? We crucify him. You need to keep him down. And when he tries to, you need to slap him down if you want to change your life. Right? I always got to add that. If you want to change your life. Porque a poco no, at any minute, any one of us can go crazy. Yes or no? It's easy. That's the easiest thing. We can just go mad if we don't allow God to hold us. I'll close with just three examples in the Bible that I'm telling you, choices have always been the name of the game. You have to make a choice. You have to. Daily. And all I'm doing is reminding you. Next week I'm going to talk more about the mind and how it works. Because that's what we're on. We're on the mind. Because the mind affects, I tell people all the time that the mindset is the heartbeat of your success or failure in life. It's the heartbeat of your success or failure. Things that you have to do. God does his part, you do yours. And I tell people all the time, God has already done his part. Now it's up to us to figure out what our part is. And a big part of that is the mind. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Ever heard of them? They had a choice to make. They were men of integrity, men of God. But when the king told them they had to bow down and serve him and worship him, that was not their standard. That was not their belief. That was not their value. They valued their faith. They valued their God. Their standards were godly. And they had to tell the king, listen, king, we just can't do that. With all due respect, we just can't bow down. We can't do it. But I'm going to kill you. I'm going to throw you into the fire. And that's what happens to us in our families, in our relationships, in our jobs, and threaten you. It happens a lot in relationships. And you have to make a decision. Are you going to bow? Or are you going to live up to your... Well, you're going to find out what you believe and what your standard is. Or are you going to let go of your standards and your beliefs? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, no, we're sorry, king, but we cannot do that. They said like this, Shadrach and Meshach responded, oh, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. If you throw us in the fire or furnace, which is what was going to happen if they didn't bow down, the God whom we serve will save us. And this is the reason I use this example. This is what they said. I know you're going to throw us in the fire furnace, but I'm telling you, the God that we serve is able to save us. They believed that. Keep that in mind. They believed this. He will rescue us from your hand, your majesty. That's what they said. But listen, but what I love about this example is because of what they said next. But even if he doesn't, what if things don't go your way? What if things don't turn out the way you wanted them. Have they all worked out for you? Every single decision, everything you've done? No. And you're still here, brother. That's awesome. That's incredible. Have everything worked out for you, brother? No. Carlos? No. But if we quit at the first bump, at the first tragedy, which is another thing I teach a lot here, the winds are going to come. The rain is going to fall, and the floods are going to come. But you have to be ready. They said, even if he doesn't, we just cannot. Let me make it clear to you, they said, Your Majesty, with respect, that we will not serve your God. We cannot do that. They had a standard. They lived by a standard. They had a belief. They had values. You see how that works, guys? The story of Esther. And who knows the story of Esther? Mordecai, the uncle, said, maybe God has called you for such a time as this. Dijo Esther, you know what? I'm going to go into the king, but I might die if I do that. I'm not supposed to do this. But she had some values, she had some standards, and she had some beliefs. And she said, I have to do the right thing. And if I die, I die. This is how important values and standards and beliefs are. Because this is how you make choices. The last one I'll use is Joshua. He chose. A long time ago he chose. He'd been doing this for years. In history, the history in Israel's history is more than just history for us, guys. It's a spiritual instruction showing us what beliefs and disobedience and surrender and rebellion produce. It's biblical. It tells us, the Bible tells, listen to what Hebrews 3:5 says. And Moses indeed was faithful in all his house as a servant for a testimony. In other words, as an example of those things which would be spoken of after. But Christ as the Son over his own house, whose house we are. You see how that works? If we hold fast to the confidence and the rejoicing of his hope firm to the end. In other words, if you believe what we believe as Christians, that what Moses and Joshua did back then is a physical example for our spiritual reality. That's how it works. When Moses died, he had put Joshua in charge. Joshua was now the leader of the Israelites. At this point in the story, Joshua was an old man already. And I'm starting to get older. I'm going to be preaching this stuff till I'm 120. Para que me digan los youngsters, ¿qué sabe ese chavo? He had been faithful serving Moses. Joshua had faithfully served Moses. He had led Israel into the promised land. He had fought battles. Joshua. He had fought battles. He had seen God's promises come to pass. He knows what God can do. I'm telling you, I've seen the glory of God. And now he's gathered with all the children of Israel. He's right there with all the people that he's been trying to guide all these years. And like Moses, he had done it. Joshua too was reminding the people of everything that God has already done for them. Has God done something for you? Has God done something for you, brother? how he had always given them victory over their enemies and handed them cities that they didn't build and vineyards that they didn't plant, with all the history fresh in their minds. Joshua put this choice before them. Now therefore fear the Lord, serve him sincerely with truth, and put away the gods of your father, and the famous words. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose. Choose. Choose today whom you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. This was Joshua's way of saying he drew a line. And that's what you have to do in your own life. You have to draw a line. And life change always comes down to a decision. Always. Always. And just like Joshua, you and I must choose on a daily basis. Yes, sir. I'm going to pass around the donation bucket, by the way, guys.
Years back, I used to work in FAR. I live in well, close to Alton or Mission. So I have to drive all the way to FAR. Come in the mornings because it was easy because I was coming down to Nolana. Coming out of my addictions, had barely gotten saved. So I would go the long way around, which would be through Nolana. It'd take me more time to get home. And one day, as I'm working there, serving God and everything, God spoke to me, said, go back through the freeway. And the reason I wouldn't go through the freeway is because my neighborhood was there. And that was where I had my connections.
Okay.
So that day I went and I stopped in my neighborhood. I'm sitting there and I'm just sitting there thinking. Somebody comes and knocks on my window. My brother. He says, look at this, bro. So you want some? I was a coke addict, and he's showing me right here. In my mind, I'm saying, you know what? Nobody's going to see me.
Yeah.
Nobody's around here to see me. But then I saw the people that God had used, myself, the testimony that he gave me, praying with people and so forth. And I said, you know what? No. So what really matters is the choice that you make when nobody sees you.
Yep.
That's what counts also.
Yeah. No, that's what counts a lot. Because those are the moments are with Sue. Does anybody else have anything to say here? So we've seen today that life choice comes down to choices. It comes down to choices. And your choices are made by beliefs, values, and standards. What you choose to believe, what you choose to value, the standards you choose to live by. I choose to live by God's standards. I choose Christ. I choose God. Choose today whom you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Then the same choice is before you today. I highly recommend you choose Christ. That's all I have, guys. Thank you for coming.